All right, we're almost there, Peach. Almost. I could stop betting college or start betting college football and stop betting Major League Baseball. 32 days, 17 hours, 38 minutes, and 28 seconds away from week 0 of the college football season. To talk about that and a little bit more, we welcome on now John Jansen, Michigan Game Day Analyst. John, thanks so much for giving us some time, man, on a Monday night. How you been?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here, and that's a hell of a countdown. That's you're spot on.
I can't wait, man. I love baseball, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a Cubs fan, so I've loved one season of baseball back in 2016. Usually it's torture. Even this year, they're good and it's torture. The Brewers just won't stop winning games, so I'm ready for football. Your thoughts on Bryce Underwood, man? He comes in, he's a 5-star freshman, true freshman. Your expectations for him? Last year, obviously, the quarterback position, a little bit of a struggle, the offensive side of the ball, not all that great, but how do you feel about him and his expectations year one?
Well, I mean, it's really nice of you to put that for last year, the struggle.
Yeah.
It was a struggle. We struggled with the forward pass. And this year, I mean, Bryce has all the tools. Here's the thing, though, is he's a freshman. Some freshmen acclimate quick, some don't. And we really won't know until he hits game day. It's hard to tell in practice. You can do all the right things in practice, and you can have the script, and everything looks great on State Street, but then all of a sudden you got to take the game to Main Street, and you're just never really sure until it happens. He's doing everything he has to do to give himself the best chance at success in his freshman season. He spent countless hours in the film room, in the weight room, with the receivers, organizing things, and it's impressive to see a freshman do. And if he's going to be the starting quarterback, if he's going to be the guy that takes Michigan and improves on the record last year and gets us back to the college football playoffs, those are the things. That's the minimum of what he's going to have to do, and it's going to have to continue throughout the course of the season.
John, how different do you think the perception around Michigan and how maybe different the odds would be on Michigan going into this season if they didn't beat the Buckeyes and Alabama in the bowl game, right? Because beating those two brands end of the year gets so much momentum. Do you think we would perceive Michigan a little bit differently heading into year two? Would the odds reflect that a little bit? Like, how much or little do you think those two games at the end of the year kind of hold stock going into this season?
Well, in regards to setting the line and doing all those things, there's people that are a lot smarter at that than I am, and I think that they're detached enough to know, there's some momentum that can carry over, but with the portal, with recruiting, guys coming and going, it's really hard to say that carries over. What I will tell you is, with the alumni base, with the Michigan fan base, that was huge, and I don't think it was got to win or Sherrone's no longer the head coach, but it sure did buy him some goodwill and a lot of positive energy going into this offseason. And this doesn't affect this year, but you look at the recruiting classes and this year's recruiting class that Michigan is putting together, it's going to be a top class if he can hold on until December. And then when you have wins like that, it feels like it pays off more 2 or 3 years down the road, because all of those kids that bought in because of some of those wins and they were sold on that's when they're actually going to be performing for Michigan.
John, I'm in this stupid 72-hour water challenge or water fast right now with Mike Koloja. I don't know if you remember him, played on the offensive line at Michigan, and I was texting him about the offensive side of the ball. I was like, obviously the defense is going to be good, man, but I think this is the most I've been excited for a Michigan offense since you were there. What do you think about Chip Lindsey, though, and what he brings to the table? Is this like your traditional Michigan offense, or do you think it's going to look a little bit different? He comes over, obviously, from North Carolina.
It's going to look a little bit different, but Michigan, especially with Sherrone as the head coach, it's always going to be run first, and that's traditional Michigan. That's the identity of Michigan. When Michigan has had their best teams, they've always been able to run the football. But like what you saw with North Carolina, they were able to run the football because they had a good running back. They had a pretty good offensive line, but they are really going to be able to open up the pass game. And I liked a lot of the concepts that I saw from him in spring ball in terms of route trees, in terms of how he was progressing to certain things. And what I want to see from him, because I didn't get a chance to watch everything North Carolina was doing the last couple of years, What are you doing in the first quarter, second quarter to set up something that you want to be able to do in the fourth quarter? What are you setting up in defense to be able to show you, to give you a look, a matchup, so that when you need that play in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, it's there and you're ready to dial it up? That's really where I want to see Chip Lindsey and see him progress. But I liked everything that I saw from him. Like I said, last year, hey, there was a lot of things that were wrong with Michigan's offense. It all started at the quarterback, bad protection, didn't have receivers finding ways to get open. I didn't like the offensive system. This year it's completely revamped and it's different. You got wide receivers that have transferred in. You've got offensive line. There's a stud offensive lineman in Andrew Babalola. If he can develop and he could be the left tackle, I think that might be the key that unlocks that offensive line and really unlocks this offense.
John, do you think Sherrone Moore wants to continue what Harbaugh was building in Ann Arbor while also adding kind of his style and his imprint? Or do you think that he's just really trying to turn like this into his program? What would you say is his philosophy right now? Is he trying to hold on to the things Harbaugh was doing, or is he trying to make this his true program and just moving on from Harbaugh?
Well, I mean, it's kind of an impossible question, because if you say, he doesn't want to do what Harbaugh did, I mean, that was championship football. It won a national championship. It won 3 Big Ten championships. So there's going to be aspects of that. But he was also very involved in that offense. Like, he was the play caller. He was the guy that built that offensive line in Sherrone Moore. So there's going to be a lot of the run game that's the same. There's going to be a lot of things that are similar. But as the one thing that I like about good coaches, and Sherrone, this is where Sherrone needs to define himself as a good coach. Every single year, you're going to have a different skill set. You're not always going to have J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. Yeah. Who do you have at quarterback? How do you win with that quarterback? You're not always going to have a Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, but how do you win with the players that you have? You've recruited them. You've invited them here through the transfer portal. However they've gotten here, they're here. They're your guys. How are you going to create a system with your assistant coaches that creates success, that creates winning? And sometimes it may look exactly like it looked like with Jim Harbaugh. Other times it's going to look completely different, but it's going to vary year to year, coach to coach, in terms of who they have as their assistants.
Going over to the defensive side of the ball, I think Derrick Moore is like one of my favorite players in college football, definitely in the Big Ten. Love the comments about Michigan State and the belts to asses and the dominance here the last couple of years. Last year, 23 tackles, 4 sacks. How good can he be, and how good is that defense going to be?
I keep waiting for him to have his opportunity. And, I mean, he's come through when he's been on the field. Yeah. But when you got guys like Josiah Stewart you go back, there's been some really good edge rushers at Michigan, and now this is the year where he really gets a chance to come off the ball. Here's what I like about him. His first 2 steps, they're quick, they're explosive off the ball. He covers ground. He sets up the offensive lineman to whatever Derrick Moore wants him to do. And sometimes that's, hey, I want to be able to speed rush, so I might give him a little nod inside, but I'm going to go speed. Other times it's, hey, I'm going to set him up. He's got to move off of a move. He uses his hands well. He's got good power, long arms. And he reminds me of a teammate that I had for a couple of years at Michigan, and then he played at Miami in the NFL. His name's David Bowens. Yeah. He's just got that athletic, fluid movement, and he's kind of one of those guys that just there's nothing he can't do. So it always keeps an offensive lineman on his heels, not really knowing if it's going to be speed, if it's going to be power. He's got long arms. He's got that explosive takeoff off the ball. I'm really excited. I think this is the year. Michigan doesn't have a lot of top-end talent that is going to be first-round picks next year. Derrick Moore could be the guy that sneaks into the first round with his performance this year.
John, what was the game that when the schedule came out you thought was going to be the most difficult for Michigan this year? Was it going to be at Oklahoma week 2 with Bryce Underwood making his first career road start in front of 80,000 people? Was it obviously the rivalry game against Ohio State, trying to beat them for a 5th time in a row? They're at USC. They're at Nebraska. They do avoid Oregon, Penn State, Illinois, Indiana, but they do have some tricky games on their schedule. Which one kind of stood out to you when you were going through as the game that you thought would be the most tough to win?
Well, Oregon's very fortunate this year that they avoid Michigan. Penn State is very lucky that they avoid Michigan. I say that a little bit jokingly, but I think there's two games that will define this season. And it is going to be that second game against Oklahoma because of the youth on the offensive line, because of a freshman quarterback, because we're still trying to figure out – you're not going to learn much against New Mexico. So what is this team going to be? What's the identity of this team? They're still trying to figure that out. It's on the road. Michigan's never played in Norman. I can't wait to go there. I hear it's a great atmosphere. That's going to be the toughest test first. The last game of the year, the game against Ohio State, that is always going to be the one that is the most physical, that will actually tell you, have you improved from week 1 to week 12? Are you a championship football team? Do you have that potential? That's where it's going to be shown. And so those are the two games that I'm looking at this year. There's a lot of really good moments in between, but it's a nice bookend season with Oklahoma near the beginning and Ohio State obviously at the end.
Their win total is 8.5. Do you think 9 wins, 9-3, and maybe just missing out on the college football playoff with the 5-star freshman quarterback, would that be a success? I mean, obviously, the fan base wants double-digit wins every year, but would that be a success, or do you think this team has to make the playoffs, especially with Sherrone Moore, not coaching for his job, but, big shoes to fill, and they got the suspension and everything. Do you think 9-3 is a success, or do they have to win 10 games to make the playoff?
No, I think 9 wins would be a success this year. And for all the reasons that I've already talked about, there's a lot of youth on that offense. There's a lot of new faces, a lot of new names, a lot of new, Chip Lindsey, we talked about him as well. There's a lot of newness. How quickly does that come together? And so I think 9 wins would be a success. I expect that to be a minimum. That's probably, I guess, where most Michigan fans would be at, is 9 is the minimum. You get 10, you're probably in the playoffs. And that one of those 10 better be Ohio State.
Before we let you go, John, last question. You brought up Penn State. James Franklin brings in Jim Knowles to call the defense, and they have obviously Nick Singleton and Katron Allen both coming back. Drew Aller, I don't know if you're a fan of him, but he's coming back. The defense should be really good, especially the secondary. I usually don't bet Penn State because I'm not a big James Franklin guy, and I know the knock that he can't win the big one, but I love Kotelnicki calling plays. Do you think that they should be the favorites to win the Big Ten, or do you like Oregon or maybe Ohio State a little bit better?
Well, I think Penn State has the most talent.
Yeah.
And I think Drew Aller has great potential, but I got to see it. I've got to see it in the big games, in the big moments. Same thing with James Franklin. I'm with you. I just don't know that he'll ever really be able to get it done. But when you look at that lineup offensively, you look at defensively, they got a lot of speed defensively. They have the best collection of talent in the Big Ten, coming back with the most experience. Now it's a matter of what has Drew Aller done this offseason so when he gets into those big games, he's not airmailing any of those passes. He's not double pumping anything that he is sure. He needs to be not just a great quarterback on the field, but he needs to be a great leader. If he can do that, I don't know that Penn State loses a game this year, but it's still one of those things where you just simply have to see it.
Completely agree. John, thanks so much, man. Let's do this again in like 30-plus days and talk week 1. And as a Notre Dame fan, I hope you guys beat the living hell out of Ohio State again this year.
Thanks a lot. Anytime you guys want. Happy to talk some football. Take care.
Thanks, man. John Jansen right there. Check out his podcast, by the way, the MGO Blue podcast with John Jansen. Also, Michigan Game Day analyst as well, so you hear him on the play-by-play call as well.